Hello, welcome to The Update. I'm Abby Smith. A record number of Australians are enrolled to vote in next month's Voice referendum. The Electoral Commission says more than 17 million people have signed up to vote here and overseas, including the largest number of Indigenous and young people to date. One of Australia's top doctors says decisions made independently by states and territories during the pandemic won't be examined by a major inquiry into Australia's COVID response. The federal government's newly announced inquiry will focus on the vaccine rollout, support payments and international border closures, but the actions of state and territories are largely being excluded. Nick Coatsworth was Australia's former Deputy Chief Health Officer during the pandemic and says the effectiveness of lockdowns and local border closures must be considered.
In a pandemic, the states make the majority of disease control decisions, far more than the Commonwealth. And so given that's the case, how can any meaningful inquiry happen if some of those decisions aren't examined?
Meantime, after his visit to South Australia yesterday, the Prime Minister says he'll be back to see more of the state. Anthony Albanese says he wants to explore the regions.
I want to be the Prime Minister for the whole country. And regional South Australia is very important, and I've been talking with Mally about a visit there, and so I'll be doing that on Monday.
Workers at Australian poultry giant Ingham's are walking off the job over a pay dispute. They've begun strike action at factories in South Australia and Western Australia after the company refused to offer a fair wage increase. The lead singer of Australian band Voyager has been diagnosed with cancer. Danny Estrin made the announcement on social media yesterday and says he'll require immediate treatment. The band will cancel their upcoming European tour. Lachlan Murdoch will become the sole chairman of News Corp and Fox Corporation when his father Rupert retires in mid-November. The 92-year-old is stepping away from the role, saying the time is right. He's been in the media for the past 7 decades. And new research has found people who sleep badly are also more likely to be obese. The James Cook University study indicates poor sleep duration and quality boosts the secretion of hormones and exacerbates the risk of being overweight. Restless sleep lowers appetite-suppressing hormones in the blood and raises appetite-promoting ones. Entertainment and sport next. The Panthers and the Storm are gearing up for their prelim final in Sydney tonight. Penrith boosted by the return of star 5'8" Jerome Luai. Storm coach Craig Bellamy is confident halfback Jerome Hughes will return from a calf injury after he got through training. While in the NRLW, the Knights take on the Broncos in round 1 of the finals on Sunday, and the Roosters host the Titans in the later game. Switching codes, Collingwood will be using the crowd in tonight's prelim final against the Giants. More than 90,000 people are expected at the MCG, most of them Magpie fans. Craig McRae says he's looking to utilise the advantage.
It's a huge advantage for us. I was involved in a footy club in Richmond across the road, and we played a prelim final years ago against GWS, and the roar of the crowd when Richmond kicked their first goal was significant. I've never heard anything like it. That is an advantage. You have to play against that.
The Giants have named an unchanged side. Meantime, Lions defender Jack Payne will miss out on his side's prelim final against Carlton tomorrow at the Gabba. He failed to overcome an ankle injury, meaning Darcy Gardiner has been given the call-up, while the Hawks and Melbourne kick off week 4 of the AFLW playing in Melbourne tonight. And big wage rises have been locked in for women's players as the AFL finally strikes a $2.2 billion pay deal. In the first joint collective bargaining agreement covering female and male players, the average wage of AFLW players will rise to $82,000 by the end of 2027, up from the current wage of $46,000. In entertainment news, pop star Delta Goodrem and her partner Matthew Copley have announced they're engaged. Goodrem shared a photo of the pair embracing on social media with the caption, "My best friend asked me to marry him." They'd been dating for 6 years before he popped the question. There's been a standing ovation for King Charles as he made an historic speech to the French Senate. He's the first British monarch to address the chamber, making a plea to French politicians to do more about the climate crisis.
Just as we stand together against military aggression, so must we strive together to protect the world from our most existential challenge of all, that of global warming.
And it appears Joe Jonas's split with Sophie Turner has turned bitter. Sophie is keen to take their 2 kids to the UK permanently. Joe insists he can't release their passports because it would be in violation of a Florida court order requiring them to remain in the US. And that's the latest from the Nova podcast team. We'll see you this afternoon for another episode of The Update.